Hello again, Mr. Real Review. I just got back from X-Men First Class. Alright, I am so excited. I knew this movie was going to be awesome as soon as I started seeing clips from it, pictures, of course the trailers, and even hearing stuff online about how this is possibly Marvel's best movie. And I agree with that statement. Definitely probably going to be the best movie of the summer. I still think that Captain America has a chance, but yeah, best movie of the summer so far. And best X-Men movie? Yeah. Alright, I'll start out with the casting. One word. Perfect. Perfect. That might be all I need to say. I questioned some things. Kevin Bacon I kind of questioned. James McAvoy as Professor X. I thought he didn't look like Professor X at all, but wow, totally mistaken. Michael Fessenberg or whatever as Magneto. Great. Great. I questioned Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique. I didn't think that looked like Mystique at all. I thought she looked way too young, but she's more than just a pretty face, actually a good actress. January Jones as Emma Frost. Not that bad. She, in all her other movies, she has pretty much been just a pretty face. But yeah, did very well as Emma Frost, and I was pretty surprised. I did like the fact that it was mostly set in the 60s for most of the film. I kind of lost that feeling during the movie, but I really, I don't care about the 60s setting. So I didn't have a problem with that. I don't know if, the other people watching the movie were kind of like, hey, I thought we were in the 60s. This feels a little bit different. Because you kind of lost track of the 60s until, like, JFK pops up on the TV or something like that. And their attire, you can really tell from what they're wearing, what year it was. Xavier, he's in a suit and tie most of the time. A lot of the younger mutants are in sweats and sweatpants while they're training and stuff. I didn't really get that 60s feel from what they were wearing, but of course you do when they suit up, because they got the, the bright blue and the bright yellow X-Men suits, which everybody loves, and definitely you knew you're in the 60s then. This is an amazing Origins movie. This is how you do an Origins movie. You learn about all these characters. You learn who they are and how they got the way that they are. How Mystique becomes a bad guy. How Beast goes from basically a human to a beast. You learn how Magneto has all that rage built up and all that hate inside him. And you really learn why Xavier is such a good guy. Why he is the good guy. It just made so much sense. Everything fit together. You figure out why Mystique is with Magneto in the other movies. Because throughout 75% of this movie, basically she's Xavier's brother. Like half-brother, step-brother, whatever you want to call it. But basically, she grew up with Xavier in his house, and they're basically brother and sister, and she's on his side. Very close. Kind of like an if we weren't brother and sister type, we would be in love kind of thing. And then you find out why she ends up with Magneto and how that comes about. In the first few X-Men movies, obviously, Xavier is older, but Mystique still looks like she's relatively young. So that was kind of confusing when these trailers came out, because in the First Class, it seems like Xavier and Mystique are about the same age. And they are. You actually learn that Mystique ages slower than everybody else. And you just learn little things like that that makes everything fit together. And I love when a movie fits together. When the movies don't fit together, you're just kind of like, ugh, it's so frustrating. But everything about this movie fit together with the future X-Men, and it was just amazing. And then the obvious parts, you find out why Professor X is in the wheelchair, and you kind of figure out, it doesn't happen, but you figure out why he is bald also. If you listen carefully. I know towards the end of the movie he cracks a joke about getting old and, oh, one of these days I'll be bald, and everybody in the theater laughs. But earlier in the movie, it actually hints at why he is bald. I don't know if a normal viewer would have got that, but me being a big X-Men fan, I totally totally knew what was coming. Cameos, love the cameos. Very, very good job. I liked how Marvel did that. Wolverine, ding, ding, ding. Wolverine makes a cameo, amazing. Professor X and Magneto, they go out on a search for some mutants so they can, you know, wrangle up a team together. And one of the ones they visit is Wolverine, and Hugh Jackman, gotta love him, just sitting there in a bar, drinking, smoking a cigar, and they walk in and say something, and all he says is F off. And they kind of look at each other and turn around and just get the heck out of there, you know? So not a big cameo, but it kind of does just link to the other X-Men movies, which is fabulous. Anybody who doesn't understand why Wolverine is the same age in this movie as he looks in the other movies, Wolverine doesn't age, so hopefully you understand that now if you were confused. Rebecca Romijn Stamos, she got divorced, so it's just Rebecca Romijn. She plays Mystique in the other X-Men movies. I wouldn't call it a cameo. The young Mystique that's in this one, First Class, she's kind of hitting on Magneto and kind of wants to get busy with him, and he's like, maybe in a couple years when you get older. Well, then she transforms into Rebecca Romijn, so basically saying, hey, I'm older now. So I thought that was very, very cool. That was also very, very brief cameo for Rebecca Romijn, but it does, once again, link this movie with the future movies, which is awesome. Also, when Professor Xavier uses Cerebro, he's looking around at a whole bunch of different mutants around the world, and it pauses for a second on an African-American girl with white hair, so I'm guessing that's Storm, so that's a little reference there to Storm, which was very cool as well. The Kevin Bacon character, Sebastian Shaw, very, very powerful. I liked that he's a bad guy. In my mind, I was thinking, okay, what bad guy could they have that's going to go against Magneto and, Xavier? And Sebastian Shaw is definitely the bad guy that, they wanted for this movie, and he, it was a great, great job. Some people thought it was stupid because he killed Magneto's mom in the beginning of the movie, so they didn't really like that Sebastian Shaw was the person that killed his mom, but I thought it was fine. I thought it was a good way to make Magneto, ticked off and really bent on revenge. And Sebastian Shaw can't age either, so some people were kind of like, well, why the heck is he look the same as he did in 1944, but Sebastian Shaw can't age either, so that kind of, if you didn't know that, now you do. A lot of people can't age, right? The creation of Magneto in this movie is amazing. I think out of all the characters in this First Class movie, you learn the most about him. You learn why he has this rage. You basically see him when he doesn't have any powers at all, and he basically only uses them or only can express them when he's very, very emotional, very, very upset. At one point, his mom's held at gunpoint, and he still can't even move a coin, and that's why she dies. But, spoiler. But basically, Sebastian Shaw taught him how to use his powers. He experimented on him. You learn all this stuff. And even when he grows up and he's friends with Xavier, he still can't use his power to the fullest. He still can't harness the power. And Xavier helps him with that. He gets inside his head a little bit, calms him down, helps him focus. Tells him it's not about rage. It's not about emotion. It's about the mix between the good and the bad. And that really helps Magneto use his powers the way he really can. The action sequences in the movie were pretty good. Especially, the last half hour where, the big battle goes on. Just amazing. Magneto using his, newfound metal powers is just amazing. He's just lifting everything up and turning missiles around and everything. And you really got on the edge of your seat. Which is really good, because Sometimes in comic book movies, you know who's going to win. But 80% of the movie has no action in it. The movie was like 2 hours and 10 minutes long. I'd say an hour and 40 minutes of it, wasn't any action. There are no explosions and stuff. But I like that. I'm fine with that. This is an origins movie. You want to find out who these characters are, how they got there, how they became X-Men. I did think the CIA chick, I forgot her first name. It's like McTaggart is her last name. She's played by Rose Byrne, which she's a good actress and another famous face to throw in the movie. But the character overall is kind of stupid. She's just like a CIA agent that kind of sides with the mutants, and she kind of tags along throughout the whole movie, but she's kind of unnecessary and kind of pointless. And then I guess there's a love interest between her and Xavier, and sometimes you get the feeling that there's gonna be a love story between those two, but then it never really blossoms. They kind of just like forgot about that whole story altogether. So that didn't really go anywhere, but you kind of had the feeling that they could potentially have a romance. And then at the end of the movie, they're kind of like together. Like they were together the whole movie, and you get kind of confused by that. You did get to find out how they got all their names. They were kind of just joking around, picking names for each other and making fun of each other and stuff like that. So you do find out why people are named certain things. And you do get to find out why they're called the X-Men. When they were working with the CIA, they gave them the name G-Men for some reason, which is some CIA government term. I couldn't tell you what it means. And then when, our government and CIA and everything else turned against them because they were mutants, they kind of did away with that. And that CIA agent said, no, you're no longer G-Men. You're not a part of that anymore. You're more like X-Men. And Xavier liked that, so I guess that's why they're called that. Another thing I really, really liked was Magneto's helmet. Obviously, in the original X-Men movies, you learn that it blocks Xavier's vision into Magneto's mind, but you don't really know where that came from and what it was all about. You find out that it actually came from Sebastian Shaw, and the Russians made it for him. And you find out a lot about how it works and stuff. Magneto ends up taking it in the end of the movie, and that's how it becomes Magneto's. But in the last 2 minutes of the movie, you get to see Magneto in his full outfit, an even better outfit than in the original X-Men movies. You get to see him in the comic book outfit and the cartoon. If you watch the cartoon, that kind of outfit. I know I have a Magneto action figure, and it's basically that uniform. He's in the dark red with the cape. He upgrades the helmet a little bit after he takes it from Sebastian Shaw. It's got everything that my action figure had, and the comic book character and the cartoon characters. Overall, Marvel, Matthew Vaughn, the director, Bryan Singer, who directed the other movies, and he produced and helped out with this one, did a great job. This is an origin movie. This is how you tell the story of where people come from, how they become who they are. They did it right this time. I'm giving this one, obviously, 10 out of 10, if you haven't noticed. Very surprised, very excited about this movie. Big superhero fan, big comic book movie fan, and as a fan of movies overall, I really, really like this one. Definitely go see it. If you are an X-Men fan, if you know anything about the X-Men, the cartoons, the comic book, even just the past movies, go see this. You gotta go see this. You'll really like it and how it pieces everything together and explains everything. If you like any kind of superheroes, go see this movie. Even if you don't know anything about the X-Men, this is a good place to start. You can watch this one and then maybe go watch the other X-Men movies, and it'll all fall into place, and you'll become an X-Men fan like that, guaranteed. For next time, Mr. Real Review signing out.